All right, welcome to another DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Stetzel, and today's special guest is Talon Smith. Talon, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
Doing good. So it's going to be a little bit different today, and I'll just explain it real quick. It's funny because 5 months ago, 4 months ago, we did a podcast, and one of the folks that was on it, or maybe a couple, was this woman, Elizabeth Northern and Maddie, and they were talking about Hyrox. And I was like, I don't even know what that is. And then I think you said you saw that post, or I don't know if you listened to the podcast or saw a quick hit, but you reached out and said, hey, man, I know what it is. So tell me about that, what you do, and all of that kind of stuff.
Awesome. Yeah. So I definitely saw that hit. I thought it was great. And it's one of those things where, and a lot of people don't know what Hyrox is. However, it's
Yeah.
blown up. It's like, I don't know, like an oxymoron, right? Like people know what it is, don't know what it is, but it's huge. It's everywhere now. So
Yeah.
it's really cool to see. So for me, I actually own a gym. We just rebranded. It's FTX Hybrid Athletics, and we are probably one of the biggest, actually the biggest Hyrox gym here in Fort Worth. We've
Okay.
had one of the most successful teams in the U.S. We sent 9 athletes to world championships last year, and we have over 40 podium finishes, which is insane and unheard of. So Hyrox has become my specialty. It used to be a CrossFit gym. We still
Mm.
are. We're not affiliated anymore, but we still have that type of training. But ever since 2021, my first race in Dallas, I completely got destroyed. The running obviously got me. I fell in love with it. And so since then, I've taken a deep dive and helped build and create a huge community that's not only successful, but also inclusive. And believe it or not, it's a lot of running. So it's been cool.
Yeah, and that's what you're telling me during our conversation before this and even prior, but let's talk a little bit about that. Tell me, what is it that Hyrox does and what it's about? And then you mentioned that there's races and all these kinds of things, and you've had some really good athletes that went to the world something or
Yeah,
whatever.
world championships. Yeah, for the last
Yeah,
5 years.
world
Yeah.
champions. Tell me what that means, because I know that I've heard of some of these championships even somewhat recently. I couldn't even get in. Like I think somebody said, hey, you got to go to this competition, or maybe it wasn't a world champions, but it was a competition. And it was close to Dallas. And I was like, there's a lot of people trying to get in, couldn't get in because it was so packed. Or a lot of people want, it's a very popular thing from my
Very
understanding. So
popular. Yeah. So Dallas is actually 21st. So we're 10 days away from Dallas, and they sold out 12,000 tickets in 3 hours.
yeah,
It was absolutely insane. So it's just blowing up. And I would say that the DFW area, Metroplex, and Dallas in general, like we have one of the biggest hubs for it because this is one
yeah,
of the pilot locations, if you will, in the US. But for Hyrox, for those who don't know, it's a total of 8 kilometers of running. And every 1,000 meters, you actually have a station to do. And they are ski erg, a sled push, sled pull, 80 meters of burpees, 1,000 meter row, 200 meters farmer's carry, 100 meters of lunges, and then you finish with 100 wall balls. So it's equal part strength and then equal part endurance, and I would actually say more endurance bias.
yeah,
So it's going to test you in every single way. If you're super strong and a slow runner, it's going to eat you alive. If you're a super fast runner and you're missing some strength, it's going to eat you alive. So it's a
yeah,
really cool sort of test of fitness, and I think it blends everything that people love. Like a lot of people love running, but they also don't love running longer than 5 miles. So it's that
yeah,
perfect distance. And then a lot of people like doing weightlifting, but they don't want to do complex movements like snatches or clean and jerks and CrossFit. So they have all these functional movements that everybody can do. So it's that perfect combination that I think they put together in a very unique order that's just fun to do. So it's cool.
And at your gym, you do different things. Is it just high rocks? You mentioned you did a little bit of, used to do CrossFit, but now do some of the CrossFit. What does that look like?
Absolutely. So we have what's called hybrid training right now. And essentially, you can choose 2 paths. This is going to expand a little bit more as we move into our new space. That's something exciting. We're actually building out a new gym in Binbrook. So it's Binbrook Camp Bowie right there. So we're going to do a lot more with it. But we have hybrid. So you can choose your route. If you want to do more of the endurance, high rock specific training, you can do that. Or you can do our strength and conditioning route, which mimics the high intensity functional movements of CrossFit and traditional weightlifting. Or you can combine your day and pick and choose what you want to do. You can do the weightlifting and then you can do the Hyrox workout, or you can do the Hyrox running and then do the workout for the class. So it's been really cool to give people a choice on how they want to pursue their fitness. And we've really mastered being able to make sure that these programs have really good crossover. Right. So if you enjoy Olympic lifting, you can do that in class and then come up and hit a workout that simulates not necessarily the Hyrox workout, but trains the energy systems that we're going to hit that day to help us develop our capacity in Hyrox.
Do you guys have like classes throughout the day? What does that look like?
Yeah, so we have classes. All our classes right now are tailored to be an hour long. We also have
Okay.
online programming, and that's going to be another aspect of the FTX Hybrid Athletics program. Is we're going to start our very own fitness app that's going to be international. It's going to be really cool. But yeah, we have 1 hour classes, and people come in, we warm them up, and again, you choose which path you want to do, and our coaches work with you. to help you get there. It all sorts of starts. So like it all starts with what's your goal, right? If you're just looking to get in generalized good shape, then obviously pick and choose. If you want to PR your Hyrox, get better at running, then clearly going the Hyrox pathway is great. If you enjoy functional fitness and want to do a CrossFit competition, then you stick with hybrid. So it's really what is your goal, but we want to provide that flexibility so people can choose their fitness. I feel like there's a lot of you need to do this and this is all we offer. We want to give people more options.
One thing I like is that one is as a runner, and especially marathon runners, half marathon runners, we do a lot of running,
Absolutely.
So when I think of, and we leave the weights out or we leave out the other pieces of it. And as you get older, especially, that doesn't bode well. 50 years old plus, it just starts to wear on you a little bit. And I think that strength training and maybe like a blend of like a running and stuff like that is very key. And I love that Hyrox does a lot of that. And it gives people the opportunity to compete because we all like to compete. You could go do running if you wanted, but you could do the weights and the other things the sled thing you were talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know all the stuff. So sorry.
No, you're good. You're fine. You're spot on.
But I think that's a good thing. And I always tell runners is like, if you're not strength training, you're not going to get the most out of your running. You're not, and you're going to allow for a lot of injury. Look, we all don't like certain things or we're not necessarily good at
Absolutely.
certain things. And it sounds like your gym allows folks to get to that.
100%. And I think for me, we have, again, a very successful team. But for me, it's more about like that transformational, like life change we can provide for people. And when you look at Hyrox as not just something that's competitive, but as something, a goal that you set to compete and reignite that and give people a purpose,
Mhm.
something to chase that they can do biannually, they can do it annually to work for, it always keeps them making that forward progress and it changes it up a little bit. And I think the coolest thing that we're seeing, even with Hyrox and this kind of hybrid training that we have, is like our athletes are now diving more into endurance sports. Like I just had 12 athletes who did the Outlast Fort Worth, which was, I think, what was it? It was 3 miles every hour for 6 hours. I can tell you this, out of the 10, only two have ever done over 10 miles of running at one time. It was the longest
Yeah.
they'd ever run because they're getting introduced to the sport and to running, and I think in a fun way to be able to break it up. And to that point, I think that strength training is very important for runners
Mhm.
simply because, like you said, it's number one, it's going to make you faster. You're going to train the
Yeah.
muscles that you're going to be using, your primary movers. And then you're also going to prevent injury, right? There's so much impact that you have. Like, number one, in a way, you need to try to find a way to decrease that stress on your body, but also prepare your body for that stress of going for 26 miles. So it's critical. And I think it's going to be weird if you want to get in kind of like the program aspect of it. I actually tell athletes, like, they don't need to be at the gym for us. Like, for Hyrox, depending on the season, like when we're not foundational strength, 3 times a week because they need to
Yeah.
be doing a long zone 2 run to build aerobic base. We're going
Mhm.
to have our track day. We do a free performance track day, which is going to either be threshold or a tempo day. And then they need to have an active recovery day where it's an easy zone 2, 30, 45, 50-minute, nice, easy zone 1, even run, brisk run, recover and work on mobility. So I really need them to have really hard training days, 2 to 3 days at the gym, maybe, and we'll do the lower body or upper body split as well as a high rock specific workout to build it out. But when we're in our foundational phase, not in our competition phase, like they're primarily doing running training minus one day that somebody might do when they're preparing for a 10K or a half
Yeah.
marathon. So it's a really cool crossover to see how much running actually does help our athletes and how there is such a crossover between running, the strength training, hybrid, and Hyrox. It's just a really beautiful combination.
I
And
love
like I
it.
said, it keeps it interesting. It breaks up the monotony of just I love my hard days. Easy days are hard, but it can break up the monotony of those easy days.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So let's back up. We just got hardcore into the Hyrox thing, what it
Yeah,
is and what you
absolutely.
do and things like that. And that's what I wanted to kind of do. But let's talk a little bit about you and kind of your journey into a little bit of running and just how you got into the gym and Hyrox and CrossFit. Let's just talk about when did it start for you?
So, going to lead into that. I just want to say happy Veterans Day to everybody out there today.
Yep.
Happy
Happy
Veterans
vet.
Day.
And this could come out in 3 weeks, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you guys are here, happy Veterans Day. And the reason I say that is so I used to run track in high school, joined the military when I was 19.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, so I wanted to be with the
Happy Veterans
Marines
Day.
and they run 3 miles. So my whole thing is like I wanted to be the best. I didn't become the best, but my fastest 3 mile time when I was with the Marines was a 15:45.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I used to be fast,
And
not
you weren't the
anymore.
fastest?
Somebody ran a 15 flat.
Dang.
Yeah, there were 3 guys in front of me, and I was very sad because I couldn't beat them. But that's where I started. And then after that, when you got really with my units, I realized that, hey, I could run, but I wasn't strong. And that's when I got
Yeah.
into CrossFit. And then after falling in love with CrossFit, when I got out, I came here, I started working at a local gym. Eventually became part owner while going through nursing school, and then became full owner of the CrossFit part and just really went hard into it. This is going to sound crazy, but I actually ended up going more Hyrox and endurance based after I got rhabdo twice, which was crazy. So the first time was doing Murph.
Oh,
I'd done Murph a million times, couldn't figure it out. Went to rhabdo, and this was after I ran world championships. So I was in like peak condition and went to rhabdo, couldn't figure it out. Went and did my ultra, went into rhabdo again. That one was like my fault because I David Goggins the last 10 miles. Like I was peeing blood and puking. Like my nutrition plan wasn't working.
yeah.
Like it was,
That's dangerous, dude.
I was at mile 90. There's no way I was quitting. There's no way.
Yeah.
Like mile 90, you're like, man, I'm going to be doing 3 miles an hour. I still got like another 3 hours. We're going to get through this.
Yeah.
But that one was predictable. But it was leading up to that, which was weird. My legs were heavy. I was having a hard time. So I went to a vascular surgeon and they're like, hey, dude, you got valve issues. So blood wasn't going back to my heart. It was pulling my feet. Yeah, wild. And he goes, hey, you need to start to see a cardiologist. And I'm like, what do you mean I need to see a cardiologist? He's like, just go see one. So it turns out that I actually have congenital heart disease. I have bicuspid aortic valve. I have mitral valve and tricuspid valve regurgitation. And I actually have an aortic aneurysm that the military never caught. So that's why I left the military, was I got medically retired because I go to surgery at 5 centimeters for the aortic aneurysm. So when I found this
That
out,
sounds
then,
intense. I'm no nurse or anything, but
yeah,
my wife
yeah.
will listen to it and she'll tell me what
Yeah, it's wild. It was pretty wild to find out because I finally got the like official diagnosis in March of 24. So this isn't old. This is like literally
it's
finding out
pretty
in the
new,
military being
like a
like,
year
hey,
ago.
you're done. But the deal with the cardiologist was, hey, you can't lift a lot of heavy weights. We know
Yeah.
running at intensity is going to bring your blood pressure up, but as long as you manage it, like we'll let you keep doing Hyrox. So that's when I went from being a strength athlete. And I used to be pretty strong, like back squatting 425, deadlifting 500, heaviest snatch was 285. Like I was a strong kid. I had to leave that.
We
And
had a lot
then
of talent in running and in weights, it sounds like, too. I mean,
yes, everybody makes the joke that what like in Hyrox, you're a mid lifter and a bad runner or something like that, but Hyrox it works.
yeah.
Then after the doctors, hey man, if you want to do this, you have to get in 6 month checkups, but you can definitely go cardio. So that's where the switch was from pretty much straight CrossFit to like Hyrox and hybrid and cardio because I could decrease the amount of weight that I do. So I didn't have to put so much load on my body and then primarily train my aerobic system and my base with minimal threshold and tempo work sprinkled in there. And my heart would be okay to be able to pursue this. So that's how I kind of branched into Hyrox, was more out of necessity and out of gratefulness that I had something that I could still do when I was given bad news that I kind of had to deal with.
Oh, all right. That's a lot of info,
Yeah.
right? And that sucks, but it sounds like you're making do with the best you can. You said this was in 2024, so you just now left. Was it the Army or what'd you say?
I did 5.5 active, and then the rest of the years, I did a total of 17, but 15 sat, and they don't medically discharge you out of the reserves. You're allowed to retire early if you have a medical issue and they deem you not medically fit. So I retired in March of 25 of this year. So I'm like recently out. Yeah.
Wow, that's a long-term time to serve.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's great.
I was raised by heathens. I was raised by the Marines. So it was a good time.
Exactly. I just talked to a Marine not too long ago on the podcast from it. Like
That's awesome.
she's great. And
I think I
she's
saw
still,
that.
yeah, her name's Grace, and Grace and her sister were on there, Maddie. And
That's
that was a
awesome.
recent one. Yeah. Anyways, she's still in there. Her husband's in there and all that stuff. And so they're in DC right now, or Virginia. But I think that's awesome, man. My brother served in the Air Force years ago.
Cool. Yeah. My dad was an Air Force guy, so I feel that.
He's a firefighter now. He was in the Air Force as a firefighter, and now he's doing some stuff in McKinney. But no, it's funny. I'll just tell you this little story just because I think it's fun. It's every year. So I remember one time he came back with this picture of this Jeep. I forget what kind of Jeep it was that he had to solder, or the seats were falling off. And so he just not really glued them, but soldered them all together and then just drove this Jeep because it was super cheap because he was on this island. And so he was like, I just had to keep the Jeep going. I don't want to buy anything expensive. And so now every year, whenever it's Veterans Day, I'll post it on either Facebook or LinkedIn or something and then tag him in there and just kind of fun.
Jeep.
So,
Was he on Okinawa, maybe?
no, I forgot where he was. It was actually a cool place.
Oh, nice.
It's on some
That's cool. I love
beachy
that. I
kind
love
of
that. Well,
island.
tell
I
your brother
forgot what
thank
it
you.
was.
You
Do
can't remember what
what?
island it was? Yeah, it was like Guam, Okinawa, somewhere out there. Because I was out in
No.
Okinawa, they had an Air Force base.
And this was a long time ago. He was a firefighter, right? So for every
Yeah.
Air Force base he was on, he was just doing the firefighting for that Air Force base. He didn't fight as in he wasn't flying or anything like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, no, they're still very important. Planes do catch fire. So no, he's still serving. That's really cool.
yeah, he has a couple good stories. But all right, we got off on that. But it is
Yeah.
Veterans Day. Might as well tell your veteran story.
Of course, you got to.
Exactly. All right. So you had all this news, and so that happened last year, right? So 2024.
Yeah, so I was like I said, I was dealing with issues. Like when I was running, my legs just didn't feel right. Like I wasn't feeling right. Again,
Yeah.
coming from somebody who could run pretty fast, I was consistently throughout the years holding in a 5:15 mile pace. I could cook. I didn't feel right. So,
Yep.
yeah, after getting all the news, it was like I was already fully committed to Hyrox, but at that point, it was like since I found out like late 2023, finally diagnosed 2024, it was 100% like deep dive into everything. I'm like, all right, cool. So like, how do we get into the science behind this? How do we keep on making it better? How do we make sure that we're going to make one of the best programs in the world? And if I'm not going to be able to like at some point I'm gonna have to be checked out, right? At some point I'm getting
Yeah.
open heart surgery. So like it was
Oh
that
well.
point, it really shifted my mindset. Like, how can I be the best coach? Because
Mhm.
that's the one thing that I can keep on doing even during my surgery. I'll be done waking up doing programs. So how to be the best coach? And that's where everything's like really shifted and changed. Cause I feel like the program has gotten that much better when I actually stepped back and said, you know what, I'm just
Of
gonna be the best
course.
coach, learn everything that I can about running, take all my experience from CrossFit, take all my experience from weightlifting, and we're gonna create a program that is inclusive, but it's gonna be really good. And that's what we've got. So it's been cool.
All right. So what's crazy about this whole conversation is when so you told me you just ran a marathon,
Mhm.
and was it your first marathon?
It was my first actual like 26.2.
Okay, that's right. You ran a 50K and a 100 miler,
Yeah,
right?
the 50 mile and 100 miler. Yeah.
50 miler. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're telling me all this stuff and already knowing what made you decide to run this marathon, knowing that you have this heart thing going on. I'm
I mean,
curious.
so I get asked this question a lot, like, why do you continue to push it? And there's two things. Number one, I could sit here in my house and feel sorry for myself and not live.
Nobody's asking you to do that.
No, but that's just how I
I
see
mean,
it. If
you
I'm
could
not going to
go
push,
jog 5 or 10 miles. Like you're not sitting at your house.
that just wouldn't be my mindset. Like I wouldn't be living because I like
Yeah.
having challenges and I like pushing myself. So like for me, if I was just going to step back from fitness and hey, like I could avoid surgery for years, that wouldn't be who I am. And I don't want my daughter to ever see me not be me who I am. Like I don't want her to ever look at me and say that my dad changed because he found out some bad news. So I will run myself to the limit. I will find every challenge. Like my goal is to redo another 100 miler in about 2 years when I can actually train for it. Because it's the mindset that matters, not the injury. Because if I let that overcome me, then my daughter's going to find out and look at me and be like, my dad gave up. It's okay for me to give up. My dad became somebody different because he found out news. I can become somebody different. And I just want her and everybody to understand that just because your cards are stacked against you doesn't mean that you should stop pursuing what you love. Because if I did that, then I would feel like a sellout and I don't ever want to be that person.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the other thought is, I mean, there's a lot of good stuff you could do. You ran this marathon in a very good time. What was it, 3:24 or something like that? And you
Yeah, I
didn't
think my
really,
watch time was 3:24, and then the clock time was like 3:26 or whatever, but we ran extra. It's okay.
yeah, whatever. It's still 3:24. We all do that. So I remember running this half marathon and thinking I was going to hit closer to under 130, and it was a 131, 130 something, 131 or something like that. And that half marathon was like point 0.2 or point 0.3. It was just 2 miles too far. I'm like, dude, I would have hit under 130. I would have hit 129.
100%.
So,
Yeah, it's in those
but
goals.
but we're always like that. But see what happens with that. What's the
So the threshold because of the bicuspid aortic valve, which is a congenital heart disease. So like most
yeah?
people have like a Mercedes-Benz Chevron, so it closes completely. Mine
Mm,
doesn't. It looks like more like a football. So like
okay.
basically the blood instead of getting all of it pushed out, some of it gets regurgitated back to my heart, and that creates too much pressure. Because of that, once I get to 5 centimeters on the aneurysm, like I have to go to surgery because my risk for rupture is really high. And if it ruptures and dissects, like I'm dead in a minute. So we're just waiting for it to hit that criteria before we head to surgery.
What's the timeline?
It's whenever it goes to 5, and I go to my cardiologist, like, once every 3 months, and, like,
Okay.
it was part of the deal for me to keep doing this. She's like, "You see me every 3 months. Every 3 to 6 months, you're getting an echo. If you have chest pain, like, you're going to the ER." It's all this criteria to basically put in, like, a not necessarily a fail-safe because you don't really have that, but put in as much supervision
Yeah.
as we can to allow me to keep doing it, and it's very much like, I understand that at 5 I go, so it's just making sure that we don't hit that and not know it.
Yeah. I just have so many questions. I'm not sure if I should ask them.
That's good.
You
Hey,
know?
man, I'm up for anything.
All
I'm an
right.
open book. It's all good.
So I think that, and I didn't mean to get into this. I didn't know what I don't know, but you literally have this heart condition that sucks. And I understand you're a very competitive guy and you don't want things to stop you. I would say this is probably more than just an injury. This is a condition that can literally stop your heart. And there are people, like, as a matter of fact, two people at the Indianapolis Marathon this last week that died for whatever
Yeah.
reason. I don't even know. A friend of mine, I was running with him this morning, and he goes, Chris, I was running and I looked over and I saw one of those guys because getting his heart pumped or
CPR.
whatever, CPR, all that kind of stuff. And I didn't know what was going on. And apparently the guy died for whatever reason. The last thing you want is, I would think, is somebody to see you dead on just from running a marathon. You know what I mean? Because anything can happen. Marathons are hard. It's not easy. I'm not saying that you're not able to do hard things. Obviously you are
Absolutely.
with all the stuff that
Yeah.
you're doing and hardcore you are. You've got talent, you've got all these things, but you could do a 5K or something. Or,
That's a training day. That's a training day.
yeah, I know, but
Yeah.
you're being more than just a coach to me. It's like you're still going out and doing these marathons, 100
100%.
milers. You still want to do that. And I'm not saying you shouldn't, but geez, man, it seems dangerous.
There is an aspect to it that it is, and I just think that I fully accepted that because, like I
Yeah.
said, the other option was what they wanted me to do is I'd be miserable. Like, just
No.
my personality wise, like, just my mindset, just where I'm at, like, I would be miserable, and, like, I'm more afraid of that person than I am
Yeah.
of me dying at a marathon or a race, that wholeheartedly.
I'm the same way. Like, I can't understand that. I'm pretty high strung. And if I just had to sit around the house and not be able to exercise and blow some steam, that would be pretty difficult. But you do have this gym that you get to motivate people and push people and do things like that.
100%,
So
yeah,
that's kind of
absolutely.
fun, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think with the amount of oversight that I have, like, I feel very confident. Sorry, one of my dogs just walked in. I feel very confident with my doctor and the follow up that I have that
Yeah.
we're very much understanding if it goes there. And I also know that at any point in time during a race, like, if something starts to hit, like, I'll pull myself out. Like, I'm not up to the point where if I feel something going south or I feel like something's not right, like, I will pull myself out and I'm not worried about the DNF. But like, I'm still going to
Yeah.
go out there. I'm not going to take it to the point of, oh, I feel my chest
Okay.
ripping. Like, I'm going to keep on running. No,
You should know to not do that.
yeah, absolutely. So I won't do that. But as far
You
as
have this
like,
problem with your heart. So if it starts to hurt, just stop.
yeah, exactly. That's my guideline. But as far as like still pursuing it and doing that, like I'll still keep training. Still keep going
Okay.
after it. And like I said, the doctor's going to tell me when it's time, and I'm not going to be that person to argue.
Yeah, you got to do what your doctor says, and you built that trust. It sounds good. All right, I'm not sure I feel better about this, but I feel like you have it under control. Although you never know what's going to happen. I
Yeah,
certainly.
I tell everybody to stay dangerous. That's one of my one of my key words. Stay dangerous. But yeah, no, I feel that. I
So
appreciate that.
so it's funny because you say stay dangerous, and I think that to some degree that's it's okay. And there's just one guy that was telling me he was on the podcast, and great guy. He goes, Chris, I did this 50 miler and I didn't even train for it. And it was the worst thing I ever did. And he goes, I didn't finish. And I'm like, you didn't finish because you didn't train. Like you were telling me, I didn't really train for a marathon, but you do a lot of Hyrox stuff. You do a
Yep.
lot of, 5 and 8 mile or 8Ks and things like, so
Yeah,
you're in there all day, every doing stuff. Not, you're not training on a consistent basis and you
yeah.
have some talent.
I would never tell anybody to full send a 50 miler, even a 50K or a 100 miler
Yeah.
without training. I would never do
Yeah.
that.
Of
That's not.
course.
Please
But I'm
don't.
just saying that to me is that's just dumb. You know what I mean? Don't,
Yeah.
you know,
Like, I think the stay dangerous is always keep the mindset and the edge that like you're
yeah,
always training to get that 1% better. Like that you
right.
want to keep going. When you step on a course, it's for my athletes. And I even tell my athletes this, like when you get on the course, be the best representation of yourself. Have that edge, have that mindset that you're going to go out there and you're going to run smart. You're going to listen to your body, you're going to run off a feel, but you're also going to not be afraid to push yourself. You're not gonna succumb to fear. If you feel like you're pushing hard, then you can push it. Don't lose that confidence. Stay dangerous and have that mindset of I am strong, I can do this, I have trained, and I'm not gonna be fearful of this. I'm gonna attack it. And that's more of my mindset of stay dangerous, is that sort of
I love it.
faith and trusting your training, if I
Yeah,
could say it the best ways. Trust your training. Because I think a lot of people train hard and then I'm sure you've seen it. I'm sure you've trained people. They've done all the prep that they can do. You
yeah,
know their numbers on Garmin, on labs, they look great and they go out there to execute and their mindset stops them from
yeah,
achieving what they should.
100%.
So that's where that stay dangerous comes from. Because at the end of the day, you know this as well. Your mind can defeat you quicker than anybody, then quicker than a clock, quicker than an athlete, quicker than competition. Your mind will put you in the gutter so quick. And that's in endurance sports too. That's in a 5K, that's in a 10K, that's in a marathon.
Yep. No, it's funny you say that because I get to pace runners and I've been part of different pacing groups and leading pacing groups and things like that. And you see some really talented people, but the mindset is, I remember telling this, and this has happened many times, but I remember this woman, she'd run with us and you could tell like she had a lot of talent. We were running at that time was the pace. And I said, I'll just say her name, Lexi. And I was like, Lexi, you have the ability to go under 130 easily. I was like, easily for this is a half marathon. I was like, and you're hitting 140s, and I understand it takes a little bit of time to kind of get your mind, you got to get the training right, things like that. But I was like, It takes time though, because I think for whatever reason we say, okay, we're running with the 140 group. That's about the best I'm going to do. You've done 140 3 or 4 times. Like it's time to push yourself a little faster because you can do under 130 or whatever. 3 years later, 4 years later, she hired a coach and all this other stuff. And she ran like a 123 or 124. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, so it's
so
close.
yeah, it's fun to see. But I think you're right. The mindset is the key. Is like, there's this other guy that had the same mindset. He goes, Chris, I don't go out there and because if I blow up, because I blow up, I'm going to try for this time. And it's maybe a little bit more tougher than what I could do. But why would I go out there and just not shoot for it? You know what I mean? And I think you're right. If you don't push, then you're not going to get it. You
100%.
just
And
don't.
there's always the idea too, and especially in running, like I tell my athletes it's for Hyrox. There is a strategy, there is a pacing to it, but at a certain point,
Sure.
it turns into a race. Like you can't,
Yeah.
and I think this was very relevant in running. You train to a certain capability,
Yeah.
100%. You have to understand and work within those capabilities, but at some point, it's how bad do you want it? Like you
Yeah.
can outpush your capabilities if your mind lets you. And that's what I train my athletes for Hyrox. Anybody listening, free tip. I tell my athletes, like, run within your capabilities. After you get off the rail, it's time to go because you got three
Yeah.
stations left. And what are you made of? What do
Yeah.
you want? If you want the podium, it's going to hurt. Nothing's going to feel good about it.
That's
They
right.
designed this race to make it not feel good, just like a marathon. Like when somebody ran a marathon, the dude who were running the message 26.2 miles and falling over dying, that's your first sign. It's not going to be easy. Like the dude died after running 26.2 miles. It's
Yeah.
not going to be easy.
That's
So
right.
at some point, he said
Well, I think he hit
strategically,
26.1, but whatever.
yeah, 26.1, my bad. But my whole point is like when you look at the design of this, like it's gonna hurt. Race within your capabilities, but at some point, how bad do you want it? On that last fight, like how bad do you want it? Go get it. Be dangerous.
So I have a question for you. Since you just ran the Marine Corps marathon somewhere
Correct.
recently. Yeah, it was like a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. Maybe it's 6 weeks by the time somebody listens to this. But the point is like, how did you go? What was your mindset going in? And tell me about the marathon. I'm curious.
So my mindset is again, I was in Hyrox training. I was in like my sort of like peak phase for Toronto and Atlanta because I ran
Okay.
Atlanta the next week after the marathon. Terrible idea. We still did really good, but it was rough. But my whole idea is I was running for the Marine Recon Foundation, which is the unit that I served with, the community that I served with the majority of my career.
Good.
And we raise money for it's like the Gold Star families, the families of the fallen, and we raise it to help our teammates in need. So they called me up and they're like, dude, you're doing the Marine Corps Marathon. And I was like, all right, cool. So when I just showed up there, my goal was just sub 330.
Good.
Obviously, putting in the base work. And like I said, there's a huge crossover between running and Hyrox. Hyrox is, I would say, for most people, 60% running. So I was
Yeah.
doing a lot of running, a lot of, again, zone 2 base work, zone 1 base work, and I knew where my pace was. So I was like, hey, if I can just push a little bit, I think I can get a 330. So I went out there and my goal was to essentially try to just cruise for the first 13 and then try
Yeah.
and send it. And I actually ended up just holding the pace the entire time, which was crazy. I think it's because I'm a little ADHD, if you can't tell, but I saw the pacer in front of me with the 730 sign and the 330 sign, and he was just really
Yeah.
pissing me off for some reason. So I decided I was going to pass him. So I just stayed with him and passed him. But it was just go out there and have fun and just obviously honor my brothers who we lost in combat and just keep them in the back of my mind and just see what happened. And I ended up hitting the goal of 330. And I guess my guesstimation just off all this running was right.
How'd you feel during that race? So it sounds like you stuck with the 330 a bit, then passed it. Did you find, I mean, it sounds like you did pretty well overall.
So for me, the fueling's always been like an interesting portion to me because I feel like it's very customized and personalized. Like we can
Yeah.
go by the rule of thumb. And the craziest thing was I was going in with the mindset of I was going to do 60 to 75 an hour. And then my buddy, who's a triathlete, dude's insane. He qualified for Worlds on his first race. I think he ran a 309 and is like outside of just cruising, absolute
Wow.
beast. And he did this with a torn labrum in his hip, by the way, a 309 and zero training. Insane. Like he hadn't trained for 3 months after. It's wild. But you're a bigger dude, so I'm almost 200 pounds. He's like, you need to
Okay.
be at least at 120. I'm at 180. I'm like, bro, how are you doing 180 grams of carbs an hour? Bro, it's your straight steady state. He's like, yeah, you're burning carbs. I got that. He's like, but you're burning them a lot faster than you think with as big as you are. So I literally went in there and I had a gel in my mouth almost constantly. And I just kept on at it. And I was like, man, this is terrible. My mouth is nasty. But I just tried it. I'm like, dude, I'm going to listen to you because this is what you do all the time.
And
Like,
you
I don't
never
know that,
tried it
bro.
before.
Yeah, never tried it before. And I just literally made sure I had a gel in my mouth. I was grabbing everything. They gave away this like molasses stuff. I don't know what it's called.
Yeah.
The
I don't
syrup,
know.
it's like maple syrup
Yeah.
stuff from
Yeah, I've
some
had some
company.
of that. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking
Just
about?
just
They
pure
gave us mint.
sugar, really. But yeah, it's all sugar.
Yeah, they gave us mint. I don't know who would give you mint while you're running a marathon, but like at mile 13 to 15, I thought I was going to throw up or like it was going to come out the other end. It was terrible. Like I'd never tried it before, but I was like,
Yeah.
oh, Dom said I need gel. So I just started eating it and it ended up working out pretty good. Like I felt great. I just got it done. And afterwards, like I
Hey,
said, I think I was sore for one day, and I started training on Tuesday again for Atlanta, and I was fine.
yeah, look, it sounds like Hyrox really helped you a lot doing that training. And that's pretty remarkable. Just think what if you were to really push yourself to do like a 310 or 15, maybe you would have been hurting. So,
I think that at some point, if I decide, because they want us to go back and do the marathon again next year,
okay.
I think I might carve out a 3 month block to see what we can do. I might
I think
because
that's
it.
smart. You'll do a
I
lot better.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'll do that, and then also I'll practice the fueling this time and not just go off of whatever I'm handed. Pretty much, that'd be a
You
good
should
idea.
do like a half marathon before, I don't know, several weeks before as a test that's
Yeah,
local or something. It'll help. You'll have a really good look. Not saying you don't know what you're doing, but a lot of times a race, folks will do like a half marathon right before a race, like 3 or 4 weeks before, maybe 4 weeks. That way you
yeah.
can race it and see how you do.
Yeah,
And that
test
gives
out the
you a good
pacing, see
kind
where they feel, see where they're at. Makes sense. Absolutely.
of, yeah,
We do similar stuff with Hyrox, right? So we'll do a mock sim. A couple
yeah.
like so we do ours 90 days prior, and then we do a mini sim in our taper week. So again, you can see what it feels like, right? You got to be exposed to that stimulus and see if you can sustain that.
I always tell people like, I think it's important to race and get that race, especially if you're doing a marathon. If you don't know what it's like on race day in general, and you don't know what it's like to compete, you've done a lot of competitions and things like that, so you know, but if you're going in there blind or you haven't done it in a year or 6 months or something like that, go do 5Ks, go do a 10K or a half marathon or whatever to get your mind ready because things, if you start off too fast, because everybody's starting off fast, they're excited. You do that for the first 3 miles, you still have 23 miles to go. And
Absolutely.
mile 20, you're just going to be getting your ass kicked a little bit. You might anyways, but sometimes you got to run a little bit smarter.
100%. I think that's one of the this is a great carryover. We teach the same exact thing for Hyrox. Most people blow up. And again, I think a lot of people sometimes don't fully understand their energy systems. What's
Yeah,
the cost, risk versus reward, right? Like in the
yeah,
military, you have operational risk management. If you do this could happen. Are you willing to take that
mhm,
risk? Yes or no? And that's how you almost have to race, right? If you go out too hot in Hyrox in the first
yeah,
two runs and first two zones, like you're blown up. Like you just went completely anaerobic. You tipped your heart rate into a place. Now you're fighting for recovery. I'm glad that you had a great 15 minutes of your race, but guess what? The next hour, the next 30,
yeah,
the next 40 minutes, like you're not going to be loving life. And I think it comes down to a couple things, right? Like number one is coaching, but number two is having discipline. And again,
yeah,
always race within your capabilities and then figure out how bad you want it when it matters. It's about even in training, right? Like it's about peaking at the right time. It's about staying disciplined to your training plan, peaking at the right time and hitting the race when you're going to be at your best and not feeling the need like, I got to smash it hard. I'm 1 week away. I'm going to go as hard as I freaking can. No, like you need to have the discipline in the training, and that discipline in the training needs to be applied to the race.
that's why I think the racing comes in, like the
Yeah,
practice
100%.
racing, and like people just have to learn. You can tell them all day long things, and they're just like they'll still fuck it up. You know what I mean? We all do. Excuse
So
my language, but it's
no,
true.
you're fine, man. It's fine. So this is one of the things too. This is where I come from. So it's a wild story. I think I have the most races out of any U.S. athlete. I know any U.S. male athlete for Hyrox. And I always tell
Okay,
everybody, yeah. So I have 44. I'll be at 50 by the end of the year, which is wild. I have an addiction. It's fun. It's great. It's good.
we do.
But
We all have it, so I get it.
to- but to your point, I told somebody, I'm like, you don't always figure it out after your first race. You don't even figure it out after your second race. And sometimes it takes five or six. And
Yeah,
furthermore, if like you're running solo open versus solo pro, it's a
yeah,
whole new ball game. You're pushing
mm,
now a 485-pound sled, pulling a
yeah,
375-pound sled, and now you're using a 20-pound wall ball and a 70-pound sandbag and a lot heavier gear. Your body's gonna respond differently. Like you gotta
yeah.
give it time to figure it out. And just because you have a bad race doesn't mean you suck. It means like you really got to figure out what this race feels like. And just like you said, man, same thing with the marathon. Like you got to figure it out. I just happened to get lucky and run a good one. And I think it's because we do so much running that I was
Yeah.
able to estimate it. But same thing, like if somebody's going out to be competitive, like you have to be a competitor to be competitive in a competition. Like,
Yeah, yeah. Like you've had lots of experience in kind of race things, and you said you've done 50 miles and 100 plus. You do this stuff every day. You coach, and so it makes sense, that you did pretty well. 324 or six or whatever you want to call it. It's pretty good. You
man,
didn't
it's a
blow
motto.
up. You've never ran, a true marathon as in race. So I mean, it's pretty impressive that you hit. You said I want to do 330, and you did a little bit under. I mean,
Thank you.
without even thinking about it. You
Yeah.
just
And
said,
it's,
you go like this, 330. Yep. I think I can do it. A lot of people would be like, oh man, that's really good.
thank you. Yeah. It was definitely a trial by
But
fire
you know
and it
what?
was
I
cool.
think that you're way better than that, obviously. If you were to truly train 3, 4 month block, no telling what you would do. I think it would be pretty, pretty awesome. Look, you never know in a marathon, anything can happen, but when race day could be hot or whatever, but can't control those things, but the talent, obviously, pretty
Oh,
cool.
thank you. Yeah, it'll be cool to see. Like I said, I'm thinking about it next year. Actually, when I get done, so we have Dallas next week, and then I race Anaheim. But after Dallas is when we go back into some more of our foundational running and strength
Mm.
phase. So it's gonna be kind of cool to see that develop over. Then it probably will be a 2 or 3 month block for me. So it's gonna be cool to see what I can do. And we actually are gonna try to have everybody run probably the Cowtown half of my athletes. So
I'll be there.
we actually work up to our athletes sometimes 2 and over 2 hours of running. And I use time domain for training specifically for Hyrox because everybody runs a different pace. And within those 2 hours, depending on your pace, like where your zone two is at, like you're going to get the miles that you get. And it allows us to increase the mileage safety for each athlete. So our athletes will work up to a half marathon. We have some who are going to do a full marathon, but it's just really cool for that crossover to do that. And as you said, you got to be racing. So I need my athletes to go out there. And while we
Yeah.
do a lot of threshold and tempo work, hey, get out there, set and go, see what you can do. And
Yeah.
obviously, we want to also see how much has our run training paid off in the last year where you can go retest your fitness in that. And that's, I think, what I love about hybrid is there's such a crossover. So if you want to go to, and this is what I tell my athletes, if you want to go to a CrossFit competition, you might not win, but you're going to do well. If you want
Yeah.
to go run a 10K, you might not win, but you're going to do well. If you want to
Yeah.
go to a Hyrox, you might not win, but you're going to do well. But I'll promise you in all three of those events, you're going to have fun.
There's always somebody better in general. Like,
100%. It's a great,
so
that's perfect. I love that.
you could be there's this guy, one of the fastest people I know in Dallas from a marathon. He runs a 2:28 and he's not going to win. He's just not going to win when he goes to most marathons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No matter how, it's really fast, but
Yeah.
he didn't win whenever he did it in Indianapolis. He got, I don't know, 10th or something. There's 10 other people that are more that were way faster than he was. And that's fast, you
Yeah,
know?
no,
So,
that's crazy. And I think it's what I kind of love about running and even all of this is that for me, like you can really set a goal and
yeah,
that'll determine your training, but you're still doing more than 90% of the world. And that's what's
yeah.
cool. And even though he didn't win, like he's gonna say I ran a sub 230 marathon. Dude, you should get that tattooed somewhere probably. I got a lot of tattoos, so I'm all about tattoos. But
Yeah.
that's an accomplishment. And depending on what he does, I don't know if he works full time or has a family,
Oh,
but
he
he's still out
does.
there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all that.
That says so much about his character than ever winning a marathon would.
Yeah.
That's huge.
And I'm sure he's won marathon. It's not that
Yeah.
he's not going to win one or two, but
Right.
in general, there's going to be somebody faster than you at some point. And he's 40. He's doing really well at 40 years old.
I think, yeah,
Eh,
that's
Even more incredible. Yeah. But when you think of one thing I did want to ask you, like this, the Dallas Hyrox, tell me more about the competition. What does that look like? Your guys come up here and do it, or are you doing it? Is that you got in
yeah.
or
So
like
Hyrox
that?
basically they have races almost in I can't tell you how many countries, but it's huge. It's global, right? Last year they
Yeah.
had 1.2 million racers. This year I think they're probably on par to hit 2 million. But yeah, they're gonna hold it
It's
at
great.
the K Hutchison Convention Center. And it's going to be 3 days of racing. So depending on your division is whether you run Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. And so again, you can run a relay, which is 4 people. So you're only doing 2 runs and 2 zones.
Mm,
You can do doubles, mixed or men's. Mixed is like male, female. And then you have like pro doubles and open doubles, and you have solo. So people are actually flying in from all across the US. There are people from
that's
like
awesome.
overseas coming. It's going to be a big event, like 12,000 people in 3 days. It's crazy. And when you're on the course, like you feel it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people, a lot of congestion. But I think that the coolest thing is you have athletes from every single discipline there. You have OCR racers, you have triathlons, you have marathon runners, you have CrossFit
Hmm.
athletes. Like you'll even see bodybuilders out there doing it. And you're like, bro, like you look like you should be in the Middle Ages swinging an axe at somebody's head,
Yeah.
and you're running this event. And then you'll see, like for example, it's one of the most inspiring things that I see is like when I watch my parents. My mom's 70 and my dad's 69. Like they run mixed doubles together, and like
That's
you just
great.
see everything from that. And then you go to the other spectrum where you'll see like Nick Bear. Everybody's familiar with Nick Bear from BSM Supplements. You'll see Hunter McIntyre. You'll see just all these individuals out there on the course doing the same event together. And then there will be somebody who might be 50 to 70 pounds overweight with a friend getting through the
Yep.
course. So it's just really
Awesome.
just cool
Yep.
experience that you have. Everybody's really treated the same. And it's one of those things like, on the marathon, like how electric it is, where you just keep running because people are cheering for you the entire time.
Yep.
And they don't even know you.
Yeah.
Same thing. You have people cheering for you, and it's just like a really cool feat. And then you cross the stage, and just like you cross the marathon line, and it's a really cool experience. But yeah, Dallas is going to be one of the biggest US races this year. It's going to be crazy, and we're really excited for it.
Do you think it's taken over the CrossFit movement? Because I feel like CrossFit is, I don't want to call it dying, but it
Oh,
is
it's
kind of
dying.
dying.
It's dying.
Yeah.
So CrossFit is dying, and I actually did a video on this. I was getting ready to release it. So we officially unaffiliated with CrossFit, and CrossFit is dying. And I think that Hyrox has to take heed to this
Mm.
because first of all, like they outgrew the support they could give their affiliates.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is we had issues where they came in town and we're a smaller CrossFit affiliate. My gym's tiny. My gym's 1,200 square feet.
Yeah.
Like it's not huge, but they posted every one of the major CrossFit gyms but ours on Instagram when they were coming into town.
Oh
So
wow.
like, yeah. And not only that, I think that their regional manager called me one time in the last 11 years that I was affiliated. They never sent anybody at HQ to come check on us. There was nothing about that. And so they outgrew the support they could give the affiliates.
Got it.
So it's, hey, yeah, you're in charge of your gym, do your own thing. And then they try to compensate, but it's too little too late. Furthermore, like CrossFit really didn't take care of their athletes, in my opinion,
Mm.
as evidenced by
Yeah.
the CrossFit Games and the tragedy that happened there. Like you're not
So,
taking care of your athletes, and they were trying to push fitness to a level that became dangerous. And then furthermore, they raised without giving us that. And not only that, I think the biggest thing for CrossFit, and this is with anything, right? Like it's the barrier to entry to be a coach. So they could take a 2-week course and you get your level 1. And now you have these people saying we're forging elite fitness and they could
mm,
never have any CrossFit experience. And
mm,
my story is in San Diego in 2011, when I took mine, there was a guy there who was never into fitness, never taken a CrossFit class, never really worked out in his life, but he took his level 1 and he was opening a gym. So when you have a
wow.
low barrier to entry, you have low standards, correct? Exactly. So Hyrox is taking over because I will say their affiliate support is second to none. You send them a message, you're getting a message in response. They'll check up on you. You're getting the emails, you're getting the follow up. It's been incredible. Number 2, the thing they have to take heed of though is to become a Hyrox training center or become a Hyrox coach. It's still a very easy, simple online course. So
Mm,
I would say that for Hyrox not to become CrossFit, they need to continue to offer the excellent customer service on the affiliate support that they are. And
yeah.
also there needs to be more buy-in for the training. And for me, and this is really huge, is I'm actually getting my doctorate of nursing practice in psychiatry. So I've
Congrats,
been
man.
doing
That's awesome.
doctorate level research now for 2.5 years. I actually, craziest thing ever, I present my project the day of Dallas on the 21st. I go from presenting my doctorate project to the race, but I've taken that level of research and put it into training. And
Uh-huh.
that's increased not only the safety and efficacy of my program, it's increased the results. Not everybody's doing that and they're selling the program. And you want to find that in between of creating a program where coaches are going to have a high level of buy in to ensure that they're giving the clients the best experience possible. And I think that there's always a want, and this even comes for training, right? It's like you don't necessarily train the race, you train the energy systems, you train the adaptations, and you train the stimulus. And a lot of programming again, for CrossFit wasn't that. It was just
Mm,
generic. And then for Hyrox, there's a lot of gyms doing generic programming because it looks like Hyrox, but they're not
mm,
actually training their energy system. And that's where, like I said, I love talking to you about running because the great Hyrox programs in the right phase are going to be doing essentially a structured running program. And it's going to still be structured. It's just the time that you're going to spend in each modality is going to change as your race becomes sooner and sooner. So I love that crossover between running because for my athletes, like if they're not doing zone 1, zone 2 and having a nice, easy long zone 1, zone 2 run every week, if they're not having a zone 2 30-40 minute run on top of
yep.
recovery day, and they're not actually actively working on tempo or threshold runs and training that, then they're missing out on what this program really has to offer. And like I
Mm,
said, that's 1 or 2 days less than the actual running program would be. But the only
yeah.
reason is we have to train for the specificity of the race and the demands that are going to be put on the race from hitting a zone.
Wow. That's awesome. Now, I was looking at Hyrox gyms in Dallas or whatever, but I didn't see a bunch of them. Is there just not a lot of gyms that are, and maybe there is, I'm just looking in the wrong place, like Google.
So there's 3,000. There are plenty of gyms in Dallas. There's still,
Okay.
like I said, it's happening at a high rate that they are updating the website, but there is a
Mm,
little lag on that. There are quite a few gyms in Dallas. For me, it's like I tell everybody, I don't ever talk down to anybody, but it would just be like, would you hire a running coach who's never run a marathon? Okay, so my whole thing is make sure you guys are vetting the gyms in the program right now because Hyrox is very much blowing up. And I think it's great that gyms want to add revenue streams to it. But just
sure.
make sure you're like vetting the coaches, vetting the experience, and
Yeah.
really see what it's about.
Good.
Because again, like I wouldn't
I'll
hire.
just call you and I'd say, hey, what do you think about this? You know?
Yeah, and absolutely. And I would tell you what coaches are there, but it's just one of those things to just make sure that athletes who are looking for a gym, they'll vet them. Like, how does their coach run a race? You don't have to be a
Yeah.
great marathon runner to coach marathon running, but you have to understand the race
Yeah.
before you can coach it. But you don't have to be a great Hyrox athlete to coach Hyrox. You could be a great strength and conditioning coach, but just if you've never run a marathon, you can't tell everybody what mile 20 feels like if you've underfueled. You
Yeah. I
can't. Same thing
agree.
with Hyrox. You can't explain that to people. So just be very careful when looking for a Hyrox gym to vet them. Ask them about their training program. Look into it because the sport is going to blow up. And like I said, there's lots of great trainers. I'm not saying they don't have a great program. I'm not saying that you won't get in shape. But if you're looking
Yeah.
for a specific Hyrox program, like it shouldn't just be workouts that look like Hyrox. It should be foundationally
Agreed.
based on building your aerobic base, right? Building your overall work capacity, and then training for the stimulus that Hyrox is going to force on you. Where you're having to run in 1K after pushing a 485-pound sled, but it shouldn't look like that every day.
I mean, I feel like that's in anything, right? You're looking for some kind of coach to do certain things so that you want to get the best one, and you got to ask good questions. Or if you want a good doctor that is going to look at your
Exactly.
heart or whatever, there's a lot of doctors that are they might know they know their stuff, but maybe they don't have that much experience. Maybe they're not the best. Somebody working on your heart, you kind of want the best.
Correct. Yeah. And like I'm saying, I'm not saying they're not good coaches. I'm not saying
Sure.
I'm not saying that they have to run Hyrox well, but I think that it's important that they understand Hyrox and what is it from a physiologic perspective, and have at least run one way so they can really explain the pacing to you, explain the zones to you,
Yeah.
and have that experience. But yeah, Hyrox is blowing up. There are a lot of gyms popping up. But to my thing is just make sure that it's there, like their foundational approach. Everything should be built on, again, foundationally running. Now, if you come in and let's say, for example, we have two athletes who are insane, absolutely insane runners. Like now our shift has been like training them again as runners. They don't spend a lot of time on barbells. Now we're trying to
Yeah.
get them under a barbell and build that foundational strength. So
Of
again,
course.
it's cool. I think there's a lot of really good gyms out there. I think trainers, as they get the experience and as Hyrox blows up, you're going to have a ton of high quality training centers, which is my goal, right? Because I always see it. I don't know how you feel about that. If there's a lot of good programs putting out high quality runners, when you get to
Yeah.
race day, you have one hell of a race and it's fun.
Yeah. There's certain coaches that kind of produce a lot of really good runners, but the other piece is a good their running group. So we in Dallas, there's Pegasus that they just cultivate a culture of running and they just get better. And White Rock Running Co-op is really good, and some others that really cultivate that. There's a lot of great ones in Fort Worth as well. Like Cowtown has a running kind of group. But where is your gym located for those that are in Fort Worth and that might be interested in doing something like this?
So right now we're on Camp Bowie, but we're going to be there for about another month and 10 days, and then we'll
Okay,
be right off of Benbrook. Like if you know where the 183 turnaround is, we're just slightly down on Benbrook, and we'll be releasing that all over our social media. Like I said, we just did the rebrand, but it's really going to be like a hybrid training and recovery center. So we'll have cold plunges, infrared saunas, Normatex, hyper ice, because this is running too. It's not how hard you can
mhm,
train; it's how well do you recover. So
yeah,
we want to bring that full spectrum piece to it. But yeah, we're on Camp Bowie right now, 775 Camp Bowie in Fort Worth. You can look it up. CrossFit L3 or L3 Hyrox. We still have those domains. And then by December, we'll be at our new place. We're really excited for it. And I think it's going to be cool.
cool. And tell, is there anything that I missed that we just didn't cover that probably should have asked and just didn't?
No, I don't know. I think we covered like the whole idea of training, just kind of
Yeah,
like my theory on that of where Hyrox, like you have to be a good runner, you have to train your energy systems. And one thing, and I don't know if how you guys looked at this at running, but one thing I dove into on studies was I saw a really high carryover between cycling and
mhm,
running.
yeah,
And I don't know how often like that's trained. And I was gonna ask you that personally, like just in your experience. So what I found out, obviously for us, like we have Concept 2 bikes. I don't know if you're familiar with those. So any bike that you can adjust the damper setting on, the resistance. So
yeah,
setting it to a low setting, working on turnover and having a high RPM, like we're seeing it actually benefit our runners and their running economy. And not only that, we're doing their zone 2 work and we're decreasing their training stress while still, again, training the energy system, training the stimulus and not necessarily the movement. So I just
yeah.
didn't know if like you guys are actively doing that because we do the same exact thing for our VO2 max work where you would do a 4x4, a Norwegian 4x4. We'll do that on a rower to decrease the training stress that's actually put on the body from the impact. So I just don't know if for running on your side, if you see carryover between using, again, cycling in any way, shape, or form to help with running economy, to help with
Mm,
fatigue resistance of that.
probably
Yeah,
is probably a true statement, but a lot of the runners, I'm trying to think, some cycle, but it's rare because if a lot of these guys are, if they're marathon runners, a lot of these folks are just running. They
gotcha.
might be in the gym a little bit or whatever. They're not generally cycling much, seeing that they don't do much of it, but they're running 60 to 80 miles a week for their marathons. And some guys, like the guys that are running the 230s, 240s, whatever, are under 3 hours. The women that are doing that, they're running, some of them are running 110 miles a week, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's
To
insane. That's
me,
a lot. That's a lot of volume. Yeah.
yeah, it's not every single week, but getting
Still.
up to 110. I was looking at this dude the other day at his Strava, and he hit 110 miles a week. This guy was telling me I should interview him because he's going to do really well at the Dallas Marathon. So I went to go look at him. I was like, Brent, this dude is running 110 miles. He goes, yeah, he's doing 2 days a week of running. That's the only way to do it, to hit that many miles. I agree that more miles does help you to, one, be able to do the distance, and then two is it does help you to get faster. And I know the guy's doing speed work and all of these things. I just think it's probably too much. I'm hitting 40 miles a week, and that's enough. I don't do a
Yeah.
bunch of marathons either.
Yeah, I
So,
got you. Yeah, so that's funny too. So when we work up to our high mileages, like from more competitive athletes, we're usually around 50. So we generally
yeah,
we'll ramp up from usually like around 18 to 20, depending on the athlete's level,
yeah,
because we got to ramp them up safely. Like new
yeah.
athletes, you can't just throw that mileage on them. And then we'll usually get up to the high end on 50. And that'll be back in our foundational phase after we've ramped up for a few weeks. But yeah,
I
we're
think
right
that's
around
plenty.
25. Huh?
I think
What's
that's
up?
plenty. That's
Yeah, no,
plenty,
absolutely.
right?
And we're usually around a week, anywhere between 20, 25, and ramping that up, and then usually in the 30s. So quite a bit of running volume too. But again, it's a little different with everything else we got to work on.
Yeah, you got to put in the
Cool.
other stuff and for what you guys are doing. Talon, this has been great. I really appreciate you coming on and teaching me, hopefully the audience, a little bit about Hyrox and just the things that you guys are doing. And I think it's a great compliment to running and those kinds of things. And it doesn't seem as dangerous as maybe CrossFit could be. I don't know if
Way
dangerous is
lower
the right
buy-in.
word, but
Way lower buy-in, less complexity. You're not doing a handstand walk. You're not trying to do a muscle up like you're using
yeah.
traditional strength and conditioning and movements everybody can do. So if you can do lunges, squats, and you can push and walk back on a rope, like you're gonna be okay. A couple burpees, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I love that. No, I did Orange Theory for a long time and thought that was
Yeah.
decent. It's not perfect, but it was a good compliment to running,
Uh-huh.
And so
Good.
Talon, thanks so much for coming on. Thanks everybody for tuning in to another DFW Running Talk. Make sure you subscribe to our newsletter at dfwrunningtalk.substack.com. Talon, thanks again. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having
And
me on.
thanks.
I'm excited we got to talk about Hyrox and some running.
Yeah, me too. It's pretty awesome. All right.
I
Thanks
enjoyed it.
everyone. Take care.
Thanks.